The Euros 2008. Spain was a glorious team full of fresh, young, and determined talents. Each and every time the Spaniards fell short in a major tournament, from the Euros to the World Cup. Luis Aragon's team was crushed in the round of 16 in the World Cup 2006 by France as they completed a 3-1 defeat. The Spaniards were really disappointed and fell short of belief. Luis Aragon's had to come up with new tactics in preparations to the Euros 2008. Towards the Euro 2008, Luis Aragon was under immense pressure to perform as his team had recently fallen out of the 2006 round of 16 matches against the 1998 World Cup winners, France. Luis Aragon had to make a crucial decision and an important one. He then decided to drop his main man and talisman, Raúl González, who was the Spanish captain. This came under heavy criticism from the media and the Spanish fans. Luis Aragon brought in young strikers such as David Villa and Fernando Torres. The Spanish team consisted of very young and talented players. Luis Aragon had to abandon the old Spanish tactics, La Furia, that included passing the ball to wide wingers and then bringing in crosses for the strikers. He then introduced tiki-taka, that has been the Spanish team playing style up to date. Luis Aragon then went with a 4-4-2, bringing in 4 midfield players. Xavi and Marcosina were the 2 pivotal midfielders, in which Marcosina was the defensive midfielder. The other 2 midfielders were Iniesta and David Silva, that were to bring the ball to David Villa and Torres. The Spanish team was glued together by friendship, team chemistry, and one goal that was to win the Euro Championship. There were no stars in the team. That easily facilitated the dominance in the Euros 2008. Spain kicked their campaign by beating Russia in a 4-1 game, a hat-trick from David Villa and a goal from Cesc Fabregas, a consolation goal from Russia's Vyalenko. The team spirit started growing up and building up with momentum. Spain's second group match was against Sweden, where they defeated them by a 2-1. Spain topped the group with 9 points after defeating the then current holders, Greece, in a 2-1 game. So Spain had to face the 2006 World Cup winners, Italy, a nation that they failed to defeat in 5 major tournaments. Spain was facing an informed side that was led with the likes of Fabio Cannavaro, Andrea Pirlo, and Gianluigi Buffon. The quarter-final match went 0-0, and the winner was to be decided on penalties. Spain luckily won against Italy on penalties by 4-2. In the semi-finals, Spain was to face one of their group rivals, who was Russia. Spain won 3-0 after goals from Xavi, Guiza, and a late goal from David Silva. Spain was through the final and against Germany. Germany had defeated Turkey in the semi-final in a 3-2 game. Spain was fancying a football giant nation that was Germany. The Germans were tall and robust in physique. The Spanish team were in doubt if they could defeat Germany. Luis Aragon's then lifted the team spirit by telling the players that they had to win the final. This was the most important trophy to Spain as they had not won a trophy for 44 years. Spain won on 1-0 from a moment of brilliance from the young Fernando Torres. Xavi Hernandez was officially named the player of the tournament. This was Spain's most important trophy as they were champions again after 44 years of waiting. The key to this winning team was the masterclass of Luis Aragonés, who then chose to leave the national team coach. The Spanish FA then decided to bring in a serial winner who had won it all with Real Madrid, the genius tactical master Vicente Del Bosque. He inherited a team of champions that were fresh from winning the Euros 2008, and he would then lead them to further glory. The World Cup 2010. Vicente Del Bosque's first task was refreshing up the Euros 2008 winning group and come up with a team that will dominate the world. Key areas that needed upgrade was the central defensive area that was previously occupied by Marco Sena. Marco Sena was left out of the 2010 World Cup, which was very painful to the team. A young defensive midfielder had appeared, Sergio Busquets. The key principle to how Vicente's Spain was dictated by how the midfield played. The dominance was in the midfield, the heart of his team. The game revolved around key players such as Xavi and Iniesta. The ability to read and find weaknesses in opponents was key to winning each game. The technical ability and work rate on and off the ball was mind-blowing. The Euros 2008 winners' first game at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa came against Switzerland. The European giants were unable to overcome the Swiss tactical approach to the game, where they lost the game 1-0 after a rebound from Gelson Fernandes 7 minutes after the start of the second half. Spain failed to defend errant yoke counter-attack that led to Gelson Fernandes capitalizing on the chance and giving Switzerland their first win in the 2010 World Cup. The loss to the Switzerland came as a shock. It was the first setback at the European giants faced at the 2010 World Cup. Vicente was still positive that if they could win the remaining 6 games, they would be crowned champions. Spain's second game came against Honduras that saw a brace from David Villa, which gave Spain their 2-0 win. Spain's third and final group match was against Chile. This was a crucial game to take Spain to the round of 16. Spain dominated the game and won 2-1, goals from David Villa, Andreas Iniesta, and a consolation goal from Chile's Rodrigo Milla. Spain had broken their barrier of failing to come past the group stages in the recent World Cups. The win against Chile boosted their hope of winning the tournament, and they had registered themselves among the biggest nations in the 2010 World Cup. They went onwards to the round of 16 to face Portugal. The belief within Vicente's boys was growing. A tactical masterclass was needed to defend Cristiano Ronaldo's Portuguese side. The midfield battle was crucial in Spain's dominance. The game ended 1-0 in Spain's favor, after a David Villa capitalizing a brilliant assist from Xavi. Spain had broken all mental barriers by reaching the quarterfinals at the 2010 World Cup. Belief continued to grow within the group. Spain had to put a test on themselves against a defensive South American Paraguay side. They had defeated Japan to reach the quarterfinals. Spain later on defeated Paraguay by 1-0 after a wonderful goal from David Villa. Spain will then face the mighty Germany, the three-time World Cup winners, the same opponents at the 2008 Euro final game. Germany was humbled by a wonderful header from Carles Puyol. Spain had then reached the last ever World Cup final against the Netherlands. The Dutch had taken a physical approach against the Spanish side. They had never reached a World Cup final. They were completely nervous but determined to win the World Cup at all costs. Vicente had to make a change and bring in the pacey Jesus Navas to bring in pace and his fresh legs. He was brought in to counter-attack and build up the ball. Andreas Iniesta scored in the 116th minute after a well-built-up goal from Jesus Navas, who ran half the pitch and passed it to Torres, who tipped it to Fabregas and fed Iniesta, who perfectly placed it in. Spain were the 2010 World Cup winners. They had reached the pinnacle of football. Euro 2012. Reaching the Euro 2012, Spain were the favorites. Vicente Del Bosque was looking forward to become the second manager to win the Euro and the World Cup finals after Germans Helmut Schön. The absence of David Villa led to a different approach to the 2012 Euros. Coming up with the false nine system, they allowed Vicente to use Fabregas as a false nine that will build the team from the midfield and build the tempo towards the goal area. Spain kicked out the 2012 World Cup with a 1-1 draw against the Azzurri after goals from Fabregas and Di Natale. Spain was unlucky to come out of the game with a draw. They showed complete dominance over Italy. Unluckily, they did not capitalize on their opportunities. Spain's second game came against a lower-ranked team, the Republic of Ireland. This is where Vicente displayed his tactics perfectly. The midfield was key as Vicente's boys destroyed the Republic of Ireland 4-0, a brace from Torres, a single goal from David Silva and Fabregas. Belief and tempo started building within the team. They were more eager to win the Euros again. Vicente's only mission was to take the trophy back to Spain. Spain passed to the quarterfinals as group winners with 7 points, after beating Croatia 1-0 from a wonderful strike by Jesus Navas. Spain had reached the quarterfinals to face the arch-rivals France after failing to beat them in the World Cup 2006. At this time, Spain were at the same par with France. Spain was in complete dominance of the game. The midfield battle was crucial. Spain used the 4-3-3 formation that allowed them to field in 6 midfield players. Spain came out dominant and won the game 2-0 after a brace from Xabi Alonso. Spain had to settle their battle with Portugal at the semi-final. Playing against Portugal has always been a challenging game. Tactics had to be right. After 90 minutes and the extra without a winner, the game took on to the penalties after a goalless draw. Spain defeated Portugal 4-0 on penalties, and they booked a date into the final against a well-experienced Italian side. The final was in Kiev. Spain overwhelmed Italy by scoring 4 past them. Spain had won the finals 4-0. No team in the history of the competition had won the final by such a huge margin. Spain came out winners of the 2012 Euros without losing a single game. Andreas Iniesta was named the player of the tournament. Spain won the Euros, World Cup and Euros again, which no team had ever done that up to this date. And this is Spain's golden generation.